Hello, everyone. My name is Annabelle Woods, and today I will be focusing my social justice symposium on exonerating the innocent. So, to start off, I just kind of want to bring in some background information of why I chose this topic to present on and my inspiration for it. So, to start off, I come from a family of lawyers in some type of way. My grandfather went to law school, and so did my aunt. And I am the youngest in my family. So, my cousins and my older sisters, they all have gone to college and they have their career set and what they want to do. And for me being the youngest, I've always been pressured to go to law school and carry on that tradition. And I had never really seen an interest for it. And I thought maybe, it is something that's very fascinating, but there wasn't anything that was really pulling me in to want to go to law school. Until recently, I came across a documentary on Netflix, and it's called The Innocence Files. And this documentary instantly sparked my interest, shockingly. And it's just very, very interesting. And it's something that I had never knew about. And that was what grabbed my attention and want me to become a part of this organization. So the documentary focuses on 8 cases of wrongful convicted people and their stories with it. And the Innocence Project, along with organizations within the Innocence Network, work together to overturn these cases as well as uncover the stories. And they use the actual individuals, they share their side of the story, they bring in the cases, what happened, the DNA testing, everything, all the evidence for it. And like I said, I had never known that this was something that was happening in our criminal justice system. And learning about it made me want to not only be a part of it, but also bring attention towards this problem because it's something that is happening every day and no one really knows about it. So eventually, I do want to actually go to law school and I want to work with this organization called the Innocence Project. So I'm going to be focusing my presentation on this project. And I hope that maybe this will inspire some other people and help end this injustice. So, the Innocence Project is a project that's focused on committing to exonerating individuals who claim to have been wrongly convicted of a crime that they did not commit. And they go through, their main purpose is to use proper DNA testing. And DNA testing is possible in 5 to 10% of criminal cases. It's something that isn't quite, it's a very pristine testing purpose for evidence, and with using the correct scientific data to use it as well as really looking deep into a case, then you can use proper DNA testing. But it takes a very long time to use, and their goal is to focus on cases where DNA testing is available and so that they can test it or retest it again, as well as they help cases where DNA testing is not possible. And not only do they do that with their mission, but they also reform the criminal justice system to prevent this injustice in our future. And the Innocence Project is a legal 501 nonprofit organization, which is an organization in the federal law of the United States. And it is also one over 29 types of nonprofit organizations that exempt from some federal income taxes, meaning that they are able to receive unlimited contributions from individuals, corporations, unions. So anyone can sign up. You can find a local Innocence Project in your community, be a part of it, have people donate, and get that word spread out there. And this organization, was founded in 1992 by Peter Newfield and Barry Scheck. I'm not sure if anyone knows who they are, but they're very highly well known. They gained a lot of attention in the mid-1990s because they were a part of the so-called dream team of lawyers who were part of the defense in the O.J. Simpson murder case. And they both went to Cardozo School of Law of Yeshiva University in New York City. They partnered with other law firms, other big organizations to realize that they claimed that incorrect identification by eyewitness was a huge factor in over 70% of wrongful convictions. And that was where their spark kind of came from. And from then, they created the Innocence Project, and it has become completely widespread. countries are using scientific data for wrongful convictions, and not only do they do that, but they leave that with freeing the wrongful convicted, and they use it with doing proper DNA testing. And exoneration is the main focus of the Innocence Project. They seek clients post-conviction using DNA testing to prove their innocence. They consult on a number of cases on appeal in which the defendant is represented by primary counsel and provide information and background on DNA testing litigation. And to date, this is something I found on their website, that they said that 375 people in the United States have been exonerated by DNA testing, including 21 who served time on death row. That's just like mind-blowing. They serve an average of 14 years in prison before their exoneration and release. So you can go on the Innocence Project website, and they have a cases section that has every person that they have helped free, but they say each person has their listed amount of years that they served in prison, and the highest one I've gone to see was 38 years. And that's for a crime that they never committed. And so the Innocence Project has full-time staff attorneys. They have a Cardozo Clinic students that provide direct representation or critical assistance in most of these cases. So they're very interactive with each other, and they conduct extensive research into each case to determine whether the DNA testing could be conducted to prove innocence. 130 DNA exonerees were wrongly convicted for murder. So 31% of these cases involved eyewitness misidentification, and 62% involved false confessions. So with the so there's 21 of 375 people who served time on death row. Those people who have a very high case, something that's involving first-degree murder, burglary, those people tend to have misidentification eyewitnesses in their case, and that's how they are put behind bars so easily, because once they hear with a case so extensive and having a person instantly be like, I know that person and that person was it, instantly be put behind bars. But half the time, the misidentification is wrong and that person is incorrect, and mistaken eyewitness identifications contribute to approximately 69% of more than 375 wrongful convictions in the United States. And it's overturned by post-conviction DNA evidence, and that's what the Innocence Project focuses on. So DNA makes a huge difference. And why does it make a difference? So since 1989, there have been tens of thousands of cases where prime suspects were identified and pursued. Until the DNA testing prior to their conviction proved that they were wrongly accused, that's when it changed the whole game. So in more than 25% of cases in a National Institute of Justice studies, suspects were excluded once DNA testing was conducted during the criminal investigation. So the study conducted in 1995 included that 10,000 cases was performed by FBI labs, which isn't using their full extent. And the Innocence Project reviews the closed cases from 2004 to June 2015 from the FBI labs, and revealed that 29% of these cases that were closed were because of lost or destroyed evidence. And that is something that happens constantly. And so they try to reopen the case, provide actual real DNA testing, and help that person who's been wrongly convicted walk free. So this is a man that Clemente Aguirre Harkin, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, his story really struck out to me. He was convicted of first-degree murder and burglary. He was instantly sentenced to death and was put on death row. And the story that kind of came along with his case was in June 2004, a 47-year-old woman named Cheryl Williams and a 68-year-old woman named Carol Perez were both found stabbed to death in their home. And Cheryl was stabbed or cut 129 times and bled to death. And Carol was partially paralyzed after suffering from a stroke, and she had been stabbed twice. And Samantha Williams, who was the daughter of Cheryl Williams and the granddaughter of Carol, was somewhat in that case was trying to fight off the fact that she was not there. She was not the killer. Her boyfriend told her that, they were together that night at their own home, were not part of the crime scene. She had other individuals that also agreed with her state of her being at home. And they had mentioned that Clemente Aguirre Jarquin was always kind of in their realm. He, at one point she was sleeping, found him just staring at her and while she was sleeping. And they know him pretty well. He works as a chef or a cook or someone in the kitchen in a restaurant, and those two women unfortunately were stabbed with a kitchen knife. And evidence came back around and they saw that, he had the bloody clothes with the girl's DNA evidence in his house, put into a bag. The knife had all their blood on it and his handprints. A lot of his DNA was at the scene, which definitely is believable. I mean, it doesn't make sense that his DNA would be at the scene, but he claimed during his trial that he was there due to the fact that he heard something while he was out in the town drinking, saw these two women that, like I said, they knew each other and wanted to help instantly, saw that they were hurt, tried to pick them up, got blood everywhere, wanted to put them in a safe place, tried to look for someone help, didn't know what to do, already had touched the knife, didn't want the evidence of his DNA on the knife, so he threw it. So he did tamper with the evidence, which is something that you can be convicted for. And after that whole scheme, he decided that in 2011 that he asked the Innocence Project for help in seeking proper DNA testing for more than 80 pieces of evidence. And with that, they found Samantha's DNA found in 8 locations with consistent with her being the attacker. So they instantly thought she was the attacker. And the test was presented at an evidentiary hearing in 2013. And he was excluded as a source of the DNA at the scene, and Samantha's DNA was found in 8 locations that the defense contended were consistent with her being the attacker. And in October 2016, the Florida Supreme Court reversed the denial of a new trial, and the convictions of him, the death sentence, were ordered for a new trial. So he was able to reopen his case, go back onto trial, and eventually in 2018, he got dismissed with the charges, and Samantha was the one that committed the crime and the murders, and he eventually was able to walk free due to the proper DNA testing from those 80 pieces of evidence. And all over the Innocence Project website, you can find at least over 100 stories of individuals who have been wrongly convicted. And this is something that really struck out to me. And I just hope that, if you guys are passionate about our criminal justice system, please try and look into this project and this organization, because they are freeing so many innocent lives and are doing such a great thing for people and proving that their voices are heard, and helping them go back to their families and be a part of the world again. Thank you for listening, and I hope you shed some light on this topic.